The Mark Thompson Show.
How about it for a guy who can lend some facts to this remarkable headline that air pollution from wildfires and from farming is more likely to cause dementia. This is a huge study. But as I say, to put the specifics on this huge study, how about it for Dr. Ray Casciari? Dr. Ray is not just a pulmonologist, he's an esteemed pulmonologist with St. Joseph's Hospital in Orange, and he's a fellow of the American College of Chest Physicians. Wow, you're just the guy to talk about this. I wanted to have you on, and you have been on with us, I believe, when we were in San Francisco on KGO talking about COVID. But I really wanted to get, and we can circle back to COVID if there's another minute here at the end of things. I even have a couple of other questions about lungs and lung care as we get older and this sort of thing. But this study is shocking that air pollution in our environment is lurking there in such a way that it may hasten dementia. Could you speak to the study and what the revelations are, please?
Yeah, this was the first time the association has been made. And this was a study out of the University of Michigan. They studied 30,000 people between 1996 and 2016. And what they were able to find, this study related to particulates. And they were able to find that particulate matter measuring 2.5 microns was able to cross the barrier in the lung into the bloodstream. And folks who were exposed to particulates at that site had a higher incidence of dementia than folks not exposed to those particles. So the association was there. And the association was strongest among agriculture and agriculture workers and folks exposed to wildfires. And we've known for a long time that folks exposed to those particulates had an increased incidence of lung inflammation. And we've known for a long time that those particulates were capable of causing inflammation in other organs in the body. In addition to that, we've known that dementia has been associated with brain inflammation. But this is the first time we've made this connection between particulates in the bloodstream causing brain inflammation and causing dementia. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities because let me put the chain together for you. Particulates from the wildfires get absorbed through the lungs into the bloodstream, transported around the body to the brain, among other organs. When they get to the brain, they set up inflammation. Inflammation in the brain causes these plaques that we know are there in demented people. And over time, they lead to an increased incidence of dementia. Now, that's the possible explanation for the finding. I should point out that the finding is an association. It's not a placebo-controlled trial, and further studies will need to be done, but it's an association, and it makes sense. So
So let me just speak to that for a minute, or ask you about that. It would be impossible really to do a placebo-controlled trial of 30,000 people with wildfire and other air pollutants, right? I mean, it seems unwieldy on its face.
That's correct. And that's why a study like this is so important. And by the way, this is a big time study. I mean, 30,000 people over 18 years. This is the real deal. So this is going to be taken very seriously. And the important point here is that there are things people can do to help themselves, to protect themselves. And that's why a study like this is so important. I heard on TV the other day some information that was flat out wrong, and I hope to correct that. And we'll talk about that hopefully on your show right now.
Yeah, I think what happens, particularly on TV, if you reference television reports, is that there aren't longer conversations like this. They post this report in maybe it's a 30-second clip. Maybe they send a reporter out or to talk to someone like yourself. It's a minute and a half clip. but the subtleties and nuances associated with something like this really are lost. In other words, the details are lost. So what is the misconception that we might have or that you
Right.
saw?
The statement on TV was that masks don't help. Well, it is true that a surgical mask will not stop a 2.5 micrometer particle, and a bandana will not help. But an N95 mask will stop particles, like 2.5 millimeter particles. So an N95 mask, in fact, will help. And not only that, but if you get in your car and start your air conditioner, that will help filter the particles out. And if you're in your house and run your air conditioner, that will filter the particles out. So there are things you can do. And, the fires in Canada that envelop the East Coast and the fires that are going to hit in California this year and the fires that hit Hawaii just recently, people who live in those areas need to use common sense. These are not times when you go out and exercise. And, I remember I saw on the East Coast when the Canadian smoke was enveloping New York City and everybody went to the ball game and all that kind of stuff. That's not when you do that. That's the day you stay home, because you gotta use common sense again. But if you have to go to the ball game, or if you are a firefighter or you're a policeman, you wear an N95 mask.
Sure. There's this, I think there's a sense we have, maybe this is a cultural thing, which is I'm not going to be cowed by whatever the element is that is, doing damage at the time. It's smoke. It might be COVID, enough already. I've had enough. I'm not going to let it own me. And it can lead to some irresponsible decisions, but sort of you're saying, hey man, fine. That attitude's cool, but just mask up with the right kind of mask. And there is an aggregate effect of this, Dr. Ray. I feel as though through the years, particularly here in California, we're exposed to this. Waking up, there's ash on the car, that smokes in the house. We can't possibly seal our homes in the ways that would possibly, keep it free of all this stuff, this particulate matter. I suppose it's one of those your mileage may vary type things. Like I don't know how it will affect me personally, but what do you see in your practice from just sort of environmental pollution?
Yeah, this has been going on for years, by the way. This is not a new phenomenon. I've been in practice 40 years, and I've been seeing wildfire pollution all 40 years. It's particularly difficult for asthmatics and exercising folks and wildland firefighters, policemen, people who have to be out in it. And these folks have been having problems for years. For the average person, they can handle it, but now we know that that's still in their best interest to try to avoid excessive exposure to this stuff, right? So if we are having a wildland fire, the smart thing to do is to try to avoid excessive exposure to that smoke. And if you can't, use an N95 mask. Now, that's not that hard to do anymore, because those N95 masks are readily available. And if you get in your car, run your air conditioner. If you get in your house and you have an air conditioner, make sure your filter's working and run your air conditioner. And those things really help. They really work against these particles.
So dementia, to get back to the thing that really prompted our desire to talk to you, and I think the reason that there are a lot of headlines in those stories that you were talking about, dementia is one more thing, as it turns out, that is produced by these environmental pollutants, specifically the wildfire smoke and the agricultural environmental pollution.
Yeah, that's
sounds like
true.
It's all over your body, yeah.
Yeah, and these things, again, have been with us all our lives. Now, here's the interesting thing, Mark. And when I talk to high school kids about smoking, I tell them, if you intend to die by the age of 45, go ahead and smoke, because smoking's not going to affect you until you're like 45 years old. But if you intend to live beyond that, you might not want to smoke, because at that point, smoking's going to start affecting you. Well, guess what? The average age in this country is going up, 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 up. And if you intend to live like into your 80s, and you want to be productive and you want to enjoy life, all these things start to matter now. When Social Security was designed, 95% of the population died by the age of 62. And now the population is living well beyond that, into their 80s. Well, guess what? We not only are living into our 80s, we're pretty productive. We're pretty active into our 80s, and we expect to be. So if you want to have a fun, productive life, you got to start taking care of yourself.
I love that there's some practical solutions that you've offered too. All right, our last minute, you told me something once, and I wanted to ask you about it. I've always wanted to ask you about it. You threw it in some radio interview or something. I forget exactly when I heard it, but I heard it from your lips. It was, if we live long enough, all of us are going to get emphysema. I think that's what you said, some version. Is that what you said? Wasn't that right?
That is correct. That is correct. Emphysema is a natural part of aging. Just like, getting shorter as our bones and our discs change is a natural part of aging. And getting our skin getting drier and more fragile is a natural part of aging. Getting cataract.
Hey, one piece of bad news at a time, would you please, doctor? My God, this is all. Yes.
But here's the good news. We have tremendous redundancy in our lungs. So by and large, even though as we age, we get some emphysema, we do pretty well. And, I see 90-year-olds, and yeah, sure, they have some emphysema, but they have enough lungs that they're able to get by, and they're able to do quite well. So fortunately, we have redundancy in our lungs that even though we develop emphysema as we age, we do pretty well. If we take care of our lungs, we do pretty well.
I love it. I love it. I love that we visited. There's a new COVID variant. What should we do, Dr. Ray? Are you saying grab the vaccine? Wait, what do we do?
Well, you're talking about EG5. Is that the one you're talking about?
That's the latest, right?
Yeah, Eris or EG5.
Right.
It's affecting about 17% of the cases in the country now. The vaccine for it is being developed. It's not out yet. The vaccines that are out right now are not effective. So don't get the boosters that are out right now. You're going to have to wait. The boosters that are effective against EG5, and actually there are other XBB Omicron variants that the vaccines will be effective against, they're not going to be out until the fall. And when they come out, they'll probably be valuable, and it'll probably be advisable to get them. But right now, the boosters that are out, I wouldn't get. I would wait until the fall.
In the fall, you'll come back and visit, and we'll make certain that that's the course recommended.
There you go.
Love talking to you again. A fellow at the American College of Chest Physicians from St. Joseph's Hospital in Orange, one of the leading pulmonologists in the country. I love spending a moment with you. Thank you for being here. Dr. Ray Casciari, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Ray. Bye-bye. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.